Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're actually talking about an interesting development in the Mississippi state flag. There's a lot more here than meets the eye. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Oh, interesting way of putting it on. So today news came out that the state of Mississippi had actually finalized its designs for its new flag, which will be on the ballot in November. So we'll go through that first story really quickly. Here are the two designs. Personally, I've heard that I think in polling it's the bottom one that's winning. Let's see, they have the name here. They've been calling the bottom one the... Sorry, pull it up a second. Anyway, here's the two designs. The top one looks a little bit too much like the NFL to me.
Yeah, it does look a little bit like a newspaper.
Well, hold on. I wish I actually pulled it up. Give me 1 second. I want to pull up the NFL logo. I mean, it really does look a lot like...
oh my gosh, it does. Look at that. Oh, that is bad. That seriously looks like it could be a franchise.
That's the so 1 second. So
man,
that's the NFL logo, and then let me make sure I get this right. And we'll go to, and I believe so. Hold on 1 second. That's the NFL logo, and then let me pull up the flag. And that's the dude. Yeah, please don't select that one. I'm glad they're going with. I think they're calling it the Magnolia flag.
No, the Magnolia flag.
Apologize. Yeah, the one beneath. But really quickly, we're gonna go through and talk about this. Why is Mississippi voting on a new flag? So, a good way to sum it up, I think, a little bit. Kind of as an intro, kind of one of the spurs, one of the impetuses for us, I guess you could say. Back in June of this year, an article came out, this is from WMC5, local source out there, that the NCAA actually had banned Mississippi from holding any championship. So I believe this isn't just football. This is NCAA. So it's like gymnastics, it's anything until they changed their state flag. And it's because the original state flag in Mississippi actually was, let me see if they have a picture of it. You can see it hanging right here.
Yeah.
The Confederate battle flag laid over a red, white, and blue stripes. And the history behind that was kind of interesting. We were trying to figure out, we're like, okay, so why did the flag I remember when I first heard that story, I guess that's drastic for the NCAA to ban a state from holding it.
Yeah.
That's pretty drastic thing to do. Yeah. And then I found out, I'm like, they literally had a Confederate flag. So here we go. Here's the story. In 1890, a new state constitution was adopted in the state of Mississippi. They mentioned it was the product of a white majority, according to Britannica, that wished to minimize the influence in state affairs of local blacks and of the federal government. As a symbol of the shift in power, on February 7th, 1894, the state adopted a new flag that was probably created by Senator E.N. Scudder. It does suck when they say, like, yeah, it's kind of a racist flag, and this guy probably made it. Sucks for him, right? Anyway, they say it has three horizontal stripes called its three horizontal stripes are called the Stars and Bars of the Confederacy, with a Confederate battle flag formed its canton. Separation of the canton from its blue and red stripes by a white fimbrication was confirmed by gubernatorial decree in 1996. That's the other interesting thing about this. It isn't like we have this Confederate flag, but this was actually, they discovered, see if I can go and find it. Here, on May 6th, in 2000, the Supreme Court determined the flag had been inadvertently omitted from a revision of the state statutes in 1906. Therefore, the flag had ceased to be legal for over 100 years. I guess when you go through any kind of weird state's flag or official flower or bird, there's always weird little stuff in the background. But it was interesting to see, and I want to go through just the little history of it, because what happened after that led to a 2001 referendum where they actually had to re-vote on keeping the flag.
Okay.
And I'm sure people who lived in Mississippi, I don't think it's too much of news to them that lived in Mississippi, but I thought this was fascinating. They actually had to have an election to say, do we want to keep this traditional flag, which has the Confederate flag on it, or do we want to bring in a new flag? Now, I believe the vote was fairly close, but in 2001, the state of Mississippi did vote to confirm to keep the old school Confederate flag, and that stood for the last 20 years now. That's also
why, I mean, we're reading this CBS article that we were reading on this, and also even when we're reading this article, the term white supremacy is used for everything so much.
They didn't say that in Britannica. All Britannica said is that there is a white majority in the state.
That's all Britannica said, but half the other articles you said it was white supremacy, and I just don't even believe in 98% of those claims now, just because anything done in the name of civil rights and all that other stuff.
Just one thing, though. I just want to remind you, we're talking about 1894
yes, I know,
Mississippi.
But I'm concerned about...
Like, there was racism in this country over 100 years ago.
Okay, can I get to the end of my sentence?
Please.
So I could see that in 1894, but the fact that it was re-upped in 2001 leads me to believe that most people that were voting yes on it weren't voting yes on it due to the fact that they wanted to view themselves as racially superior. We're talking about my generation voting by that point, okay? So, and that's not what I think, and I've never met anybody that thinks that way that's my age, right? And I saw a bunch of arguments for this where people were saying it's heritage over hate, right? Which, okay, I kind of get that, but if I were the governor, I would still want to get rid of the Confederate symbol, not even for any racial reasons, but like, they're the treasonous rebels. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's, I don't know, if we bought Afghanistan, or if we bought Syria, just like we bought Louisiana and the Louisiana Purchase, or Seward's Folly in Alaska, let's just say we incorporated, parts of the Middle East. I wouldn't want, as the cantor, which is a great word, by the way, I didn't know that was the upper left-hand part of a flag. I wouldn't want as the cantor, like Al-Qaeda's symbol. I wouldn't want as the cantor ISIS's symbol and saying, well, this is our heritage of freedom fighting. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want that.
But hold on. Again, though, the Mississippi isn't like Al-Qaeda. Like it's a state that did, as far as my history recalls, I believe that state did exist in the area that was pretty much the Confederacy, right?
Well, yeah, but the Confederacy itself was the rebellion. So I wouldn't have the rebels flag of the losing team that committed the treason on my now winning team that didn't commit the treason's flag. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I think it's different because it's like literally like that's Mississippi. But I want to just bring one thing up to you because you remember about this. I thought it was interesting, the 2001 referendum that went through. This is according to a book. This is an excerpt from my book. This is actual thing I pulled up. It's from the Jackson Free Press, but they published a little excerpt here. I thought it was interesting. So this is from, I believe, a J.R. Nash, who co-authored with Andy Taggart, a book, Mississippi Politics, The Struggle for Power, 1976 through 2006. And they go through and they mention that about this 2001 referendum. So in the 2001 special flag election, more Mississippians went to the polls that day than voted in the 1999 governor's election. The 1984 flag prevailed over the alternative flag by 494,232 votes to 275,359. So, pretty big margins. Of the 1,300 majority white precincts in the state at the time, only 43 supported the new flag. And we'll go through, but the actual numbers at the bottom they found, no reason these are fake numbers, pretty jarring. They said their analysis of all precincts showed that 90% of white supporters or white voters supported the 1894 Confederate flag, and 95% of black voters supported the new non-Confederate flag design. That is crazy to me, man.
What's the governor thinking if he keeps it going with stats like that?
But this is 2001, though. Yeah. But this isn't 1894 anymore. This is 2001, and we're seeing a divide.
It's over 100 years later.
But we're seeing a divide that deep, where it's like literally 90% into 95%. So
if I were a governor and
shocking.
If I were a governor and I saw stats like that, I would instantly think, okay, we have a problem. And I would just have a design contest, because honestly, flags are very, very important. And this is why I bristle at people burning the American flag or trying to impose some kind of negativity that was not insinuated upon that flag. Because flags are meant to be very unifying. They're meant to say that, hey, we all are members of this flagged or represented organization. So if you have certain racial minority groups that over 100 years have been saying that, like, we feel like this is negative, dude, we got to find some way. We got to find some way to make something that everybody likes. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's too many mascots. There's too many state flowers. There's too many cool things about our state that everybody likes. I don't care if it, and this is probably going to be totally culturally insensitive, but I don't care if it's freaking plate of gumbo. You know what I'm saying? Surrounded by, a star representing every seat in the state legislature or something. Like, you got to get a freaking flag of something everybody likes. And I don't know if everybody likes gumbo, but I like gumbo. So, like, at the end of the day, you got to find something that everybody is into. I don't care if it's like in Utah, it's the seagull, the state bird. In Louisiana, it's the pelican. Actually, no, Louisiana does have a pelican on their flag. You know what I'm saying? But you got to find something everybody likes, or you're just doomed, because a house divided cannot stand.
Yeah, it is. I will say this as well, though. This is something that governments probably like doing as well. If there's people upset, like, we'll change the flag. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm sure that's going to, it's like the joke. I don't know if you saw during the protest started a few months ago. I think David Guetta the DJ and producer did a set for George Floyd, and it's like, dude, that is just not. It's not exactly I don't think it's exactly the kind of when people ask for action, and I don't think they ask for that. You know what I mean? Like same thing. It's like, thank you, Mr. Governor, for changing our flag. I guess that was the biggest problem anybody had, but it is good.
It's a symbolic gesture, but it's a gesture that matters.
It is. I agree, and it's my point exactly. It's good to see it's happening. I couldn't believe that. It was crazy to me to see that. And again, maybe I just pulled up a couple different characterizations of the 2001 election. Perhaps it was different at the time. But yeah, everything I looked up said a lot of people came out to vote, and it was very basically racially divided on if you wanted the surprise, surprise, it was racially divided on if you wanted the Confederate flag or not on your state flag. Because I remember when we just, being typical ignorant Americans of our, because I mean, I will say this, like, how much does the average European know about 50 continental European countries? But
oh, that's true.
But still, it's like I didn't really recognize that. Yeah, we still had the Confederate flag on the Mississippi flag when I heard NCAA was banning them from holding titles, right? I was like, wow.
Yeah, we were talking about this, and it was the first time I actually agreed with almost everything that I read in a Democracy Now! Article. You know what I'm saying? But we had covered the South Carolina flag, I believe it was. Or is it North Carolina? Which one had Nikki Haley as the governor? I think it was South Carolina. They just had 3 or 4 years ago the exact same thing. They had
it'd be North Carolina.
Or North Carolina, yeah. Wasn't it the North Carolina flag that actually had the stars and bars on it as well?
Not sure.
Yeah, that's because I remember Nikki Haley had actually changed the flag as well.
Oh, very cool.
So,
there's worth noting too that we just doing some research. We have seen there was basically from like in the 70s, 80s, and the 2000s as well, multiple states slightly amend their flag. We found one humorous one. Utah misinterpreted how they were supposed to position. Like, they just had the numbers in a stupid spot for some reason.
And then they had two numbers right next to each other, which is very confusing.
But, like, as far as complete readoption of a new flag like this, it does seem to be something, you don't see this happen every single day. So the last thing I want to get to, though, before we go too long, again, I think we're both in agreement. The bottom one's the one to go with, right? The Magnolia flag.
Well, now that you showed me the NFL flag, I don't know. I still like the top one a little bit more.
Dude, look at this flag right here.
I like the top one a little bit more.
Dude, look at that, though. It literally is it's like the same everything. It's just, and I think there's also some.
But the NFL, the NFL doesn't have "In God We Trust," so.
I mean, you know what? Don't put it past them, man.
I think that's just all the flag should be, is just "In God We Trust" in white letters.
Worth noting, the reason why both flags do have "In God We Trust," I believe that was part of when the legislature got together and decided they're going to vote in a new flag. That was part of the rules. It had to have "In God We Trust" on it. I think, is this the article where they mention it? There's another article here they mention, see if we can pull it up for you guys, where I guess somebody had a little bit of fun with that concept of it having to have "In God We Trust" on it. And it's worth noting, I mean, this was, I want to see the exact number, but they basically said anyone can pretty much submit your flag design, and they saw a bunch of. We might do on stream. We'll pull up some additional flag designs and go through. I'm seeing. Sorry, I can't pull it up right now, but it was funny. Somebody said it had to have "In God We Trust."
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one. The one with the Mississippi flag right there. You should show them.
Okay, we'll go through those. These were the 5 finalists. We'll wrap up here. So
that's cool.
Hey, if you like one of the 3, it's not in the ballot. Sucks because it's not going to be those. But here's the 5 finalists. The this one,
that one looks too much
the NFL
like
flag. I think also there's a branch of the military that's got very similar look to like Navy or something like that. This one, you know what I like about this one? This one right here reminds me a lot of like
too European.
I'm about to say this looks like a potential like revolutionary France flag. You know what I mean, with the gold on the white, red, and blue like that with the.
We will fight with the power of the Magnolia. You know, yeah, I could see that.
Which. It's not Louisiana, but I wonder if there is some the French have some influence in the South. Anyways, so I think we're both in agreement. Actually, we're not in agreement. I vote not to have the NFL flag. You seem to be pro NFL flag.
Yeah. Only because the "In God We Trust" is bigger and bolder and it's simpler. I feel like from afar it could be seen. Although flags originally, the designs were meant to be what's the most distinguishable and visible from a ship at sea, and maybe with the red bars. The bottom flag with the Magnolia might be a little bit more visible and interpretable by a ship at sea from afar.
Yeah, I think it's just striking too, the red with the kind of like gold next to it. Yeah, but I think we both also agree. I think it's good that they finally did decide to get rid of the again, we could probably do an hour-long deep dive into everything that happened in Mississippi over the last 200 years or whatever. But I think we're both glad to see that they're going to move forward with a new flag design. It is funny. You look, and there is other states' flags that have Confederate flag design influences. There's just none that have like literally the recognizable Confederate battle flag like just planted right on it, still flying. So it's interesting to see that. I don't know. Still weird, man. We've come a long way in 20 years, I guess, is my point I'm trying to bring up here. So in November, one of our great states in this country will have a new flag. Very cool.
So I'll just wrap it up by saying I've heard all kinds of arguments outside of the racial ones for liking the stars and bars, predominantly as a representation of independence and sovereignty. However, if after 100 years it hasn't been able to shed its racially tinged insinuations, then I think, you got to get rid of it, and this is a good choice on behalf of Mississippi.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you know what I'm saying?
Like whatever argument they're making, it's failed for 100 years, man. Like no one's buying it.
By the way, the fact they let it go 100 years, I think like if after like maybe 20 or 30, it hasn't been able to shed it, then you just got to let it go.
Remember, they tried. They actually said that. They actually said retroactively for the last 94 years, this flag has been like not the official state flag anymore. And then they had a vote and said, well, who cares? It's the state flag anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense to any of our Mississippi friends. I'm sure it's more complicated for Mississippi folk. It's just interesting to see that from California, see stuff like this happen.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please comment below if you are from Mississippi, if you've been part of this, or if you're from North Carolina and was part of the actual changing of the flag in North Carolina. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. It's blowing up over there. Cody with his hot fingers is always making it happen. All right. You can also follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.